This glossary of physics terms is a list of definitions about physics, its subdisciplines, and related fields. A. Abbe number. Absolute electrode potential. Absolute humidity, the ratio of water vapor in a sample of air to the volume of the sample. Absolute magnitude. Absolute motion. Absolute pressure. Absolute scale. Absolute zero, the theoretical lowest possible temperature. More formally, it is the theoretical temperature at which entropy reaches its minimum value. Absorptivity. Accelerating universe. Acceleration, the rate at which the velocity of a body changes with time. Acceleration due to gravity, the acceleration on an object caused by force of gravitation. Accelerometer. Acoustics, the branch of physics dealing with the production, transmission and effects produced by sound. Adhesion, the tendency of dissimilar particles or surfaces to cling to one another. Adiabatic cooling. Adiabatic heating. Aerodynamics. Afocal system. Air mass. Air mass. Air mass. Albedo, the fraction of the total light incident on a reflecting surface, especially a celestial body, which is reflected back in all directions. Alloy. Alpha particle, consists of 2 protons and 2 neutrons bound together into a particle identical to a helium nucleus, which is classically produced in the process of alpha decay, but may be produced also in other ways and given the same name. Alternating current, a form of electric current in which the movement of electric charge periodically reverses direction. Alternative hypothesis. Ammeter, an instrument that is used to measure current. Amorphous solid. Ampere, a unit that describes the rate of flow of electricity. Amplifier. Amplitude, height of a wave measured from its center position. For example, the height of a water wave above the level of calm water. Angle of incidence. Angle of reflection. Angstrom. Angular acceleration. Angular displacement. Angular frequency. Angular momentum. Angular velocity. Anion, negatively charged ion. Annihilation. Anode. Anti-gravity. Antimatter. Antineutron. Antiparticle. Antiproton. Arc length. Archimedes principle. Area moment of inertia. Astronomical unit. Astrophysics, the branch of astronomy that deals with the physics of the universe, especially with the nature of the heavenly bodies, rather than their positions or motions in space. Attenuation coefficient. Atom, a basic unit of matter that consists of a dense central nucleus surrounded by a cloud of negatively charged electrons. The atomic nucleus contains a mix of positively charged protons and electrically neutral neutrons. Atomic line filter. Atomic mass unit, 1/12 the mass of an atom of the isotope 12/6 C. Atomic number, the number of protons found in the nucleus of an atom, represented by the letter Z. It is most often used to classify elements. Atomic packing factor. Atomic physics. Atomic structure. Atomic weight. Audio frequency. Avogadro constant. Avogadro's law, it states that volumes of gases which are equal to each other at the same temperature and pressure will contain equal numbers of molecules. Avogadro's number, the number of molecules in exactly 12 grams of carbon-12, equaling 6.022 x 1023. Azimuth or quantum number. B. Babinet's principle, a theorem concerning diffraction that states that the diffraction pattern from an opaque body is identical to that from a hole of the same size and shape except for the overall forward beam intensity. Background radiation, the ubiquitous ionizing radiation that the general population is exposed to. Balmer series. Barometer, a scientific instrument used in meteorology to measure atmospheric pressure. Pressure tendency can forecast short-term changes in the weather. Beam, a structural element that is capable of withstanding load primarily by resisting bending. Beams are traditionally descriptions of building or civil engineering structural elements, but smaller structures such as truck or automobile frames, machine frames, and other mechanical or structural systems contain beam structures that are designed and analyzed in a similar fashion. Bending moment, Bernoulli equation, Bernoulli's principle, Bessel function, beta particle, high energy, high-speed electrons or positrons emitted by certain types of radioactive nuclei, Big Bang, the prevailing cosmological model that describes the early development of the universe. Binary star. A binary star is a star system consisting of two stars orbiting around their common center of mass. Binding energy, the mechanical energy required to disassemble a whole into separate parts. A bound system typically has a lower potential energy than the sum of its constituent parts. Binomial random variable. Biocatalysis. Biophysics, an interdisciplinary science using methods of, and theories from, physics to study biological systems. Black hole, a region of space-time where gravity prevents anything, including light, from escaping. Black body radiation, the type of electromagnetic radiation within or surrounding a body in thermodynamic equilibrium with its environment, or emitted by a black body held at constant, uniform temperature. The radiation has a specific spectrum and intensity that depends only on the temperature of the body. Block and tackle, a system of two or more pulleys with a rope or cable threaded between them, usually used to lift or pull heavy loads. Bohr model. Boiling point, the temperature at which a liquid is changed into a gas. The vapor pressure of liquid and gas are equal at this temperature. Boiling point elevation. Bosons, one of two classes of elementary particles, the other being fermions. An important characteristic of bosons is that there is no limit to the number that can occupy the same quantum state. Boyle's law, the volume of a given mass of a gas at constant temperature is inversely proportional to the pressure. Bragg's law. Brewster's angle. British thermal unit, a traditional unit of energy equal to about 1055 joules. It is the amount of energy needed to heat 1 pound of water by 1 degree Fahrenheit. In scientific contexts, the BTU has largely been replaced by the SI unit of energy, the joule. Brittle. A material is brittle if, when subjected to stress, it breaks. Without significant brittle materials absorb relatively little energy prior to fracture, even those of high strength. Breaking is often accompanied by a snapping sound. Brownian motion, the presumably random moving of particles suspended in a fluid resulting from their bombardment by the fast-moving atoms or molecules in the gas or liquid, also called pedasus. Bulk modulus, a measure of a substance's resistance to uniform compression. It is defined as the ratio of the infinitesimal pressure increase to the resulting relative decrease of the volume. Its base unit is the pascal. Buoyancy, an upward force exerted by a fluid that opposes the weight of an immersed object. C. Calculus, the mathematical study of change that has two major branches. Differential calculus, and integral calculus. These two branches are related to each other by the fundamental theorem of calculus. Capacitance, capacitive reactance, Cartesian coordinates. Cathode, an electrode through which electric current flows out of a polarized electrical device. The direction of electric current is, by convention, opposite to the direction of electron flow. Therefore the electrons flow into the polarized electrical device and out of, for example, the connected electrical circuit. Cathode ray. Celsius scale, a scale and unit of measurement for temperature, also known as centigrade. Center of gravity, the point in a body around which the resultant torque due to gravity forces vanish. Center of mass, a distribution of mass in space is the unique point where the weighted relative position of the distributed mass sums to zero. Center of pressure. Centigrade, a scale and unit of measurement for temperature, also known as Celsius. Central force motion. Central limit theorem. Centrifugal force, the apparent outward force that draws a rotating body away from the center of rotation. It is caused by the inertia of the body as the body's path is continually redirected. Centripetal force, a force which keeps the body moving with a uniform speed along a circular path and is directed along the radius towards the center. Chain reaction, a sequence of reactions where a reactive product or byproduct causes additional reactions to take place. Change of base rule, Charles's law. Chemical physics, a subdiscipline of chemistry and physics that investigates physiochemical phenomena using techniques from atomic and molecular physics and condensed matter physics. It is the branch of physics that studies chemical processes from the point of view of physics. Circle, a simple shape of Euclidean geometry that is the set of all points in a plane that are at a given distance from a given point, the center. Circular motion. Classical mechanics, a subfield of mechanics that is concerned with the set of physical laws describing the motion of bodies under the action of a system of forces. Coherence. Cold fusion. Concave lens. Condensation point. Condensed matter physics, a branch of physics that deals with the physical properties of condensed phases of matter. Constructive interference. Convection, the transfer of heat by the actual transfer of matter. Convex lens. Coulomb, the SI-derived unit of electric charge. It is defined as the charge transported by a steady current of 1 ampere in 1 second. Coulomb's law. Continuum mechanics. Cosmic background radiation. Cosmic rays. Covalent bond. Covalent compound. Crest, the point on a wave with the maximum value or upward displacement within a cycle. Crest factor. Critical angle. Critical mass, the smallest amount of fissile material needed for a sustained nuclear chain reaction. Current density. Curvilinear motion. Cyclotron, a type of particle accelerator in which charged particles accelerate outwards from the center along a spiral path. D. Dalton's law. Damped vibration. Darcy-Weisbach equation. DC motor, a mechanically commutated electric motor powered from direct current. Decibel. Definite integral. Deflection, the degree to which a structural element is displaced under a load. It may refer to an angle or a distance. Deformation. Deformation. Density, the mass density or density of a material is its mass per unit volume. Mathematically, density is defined as mass divided by volume. Derivative. Destructive interference. Dew point. Dispersion. Displacement occurs when an object is immersed in a fluid, pushing it out of the way and taking its place. The volume of the fluid displaced can then be measured, and from this the volume of the immersed object can be deduced. Displacement, the shortest distance from the initial to the final position of a point. Thus, it is the length of an imaginary straight path, typically distinct from the path actually traveled by. Distance, a numerical description of how far apart objects are. Drift velocity. Doppler effect, the change in frequency of a wave for an observer moving relative to its source. The received frequency is higher during the approach. It is identical at the instant of passing by, and it is lower during the recession. Drag, forces which act on a solid object in the direction of the relative fluid flow velocity. Unlike other resistive forces, such as dry friction, which is nearly independent of velocity, drag forces depend on velocity. Ductility, a solid material's ability to deform under tensile stress. This is often characterized by the material's ability to be stretched into a wire. Dynamics. Dyne. E. Econophysics. Elastic modulus. Elasticity, a physical property of materials which return to their original shape after they are deformed. Electric charge, a physical property of matter that causes it to experience a force when near other electrically charged matter. There exist two types of electric charges, called positive and negative. Electric circuit, an electrical network consisting of a closed loop, giving a return path for the current. Electric current, a flow of electric charge through a conductive medium. Electric displacement field. Electric field, the region of space surrounding electrically charged particles and time-varying magnetic fields. The electric field depicts the force exerted on other electrically charged objects by the electrically charged particle the field is surrounding. Electric field gradient. Electric generator. Electric motor. Electric potential. Electrical conductor. A conductor is a material which contains movable electric charges, and therefore can conduct an electric current under the influence of an electric field. Electrical insulator, a material whose internal electric charges do not flow freely, and which therefore does not conduct an electric current under the influence of an electric field. Electrical potential energy. Electric power, the rate at which electric energy is transferred by an electric circuit. Electrical and electronics engineering. Electrical network, an interconnection of electrical elements such as resistors, inductors, capacitors, voltage sources, current sources and switches. Electrical resistance, the opposition to the passage of an electric current through an electrical element. Electricity, the set of physical phenomena associated with the presence and flow of electric charge. Electrodynamics. Electromagnet, a type of magnet in which the magnetic field is produced by the flow of electric current. Electromagnetic field, a physical field produced by moving electrically charged objects. Electromagnetic radiation. Electromagnetic radiation is a form of energy emitted and absorbed by charged particles, which exhibits wave-like behavior as it travels through space. Electromechanics. Electron, a subatomic particle with a negative elementary electric charge. Electron pair. Electron volt, a unit of energy equal to approximately 1.6 times 10⁻19 joule. By definition, it is the amount of energy gained by the charge of a single electron moved across an electric potential difference of 1 volt. Electronegativity, a chemical property that describes the tendency of an atom or a functional group to attract electrons towards itself. Electronics, a field that deals with electrical circuits that involve active electrical components such as vacuum tubes, transistors, diodes and integrated circuits, and associated passive interconnection technologies. Energy. Endothermic, a process or reaction in which the system absorbs energy from its surroundings in the form of heat. Engineering physics. Entropy, a quantity which describes the randomness of a substance or system. Equipartition. Escape velocity, the speed at which the kinetic energy plus the gravitational potential energy of an object is 0, nb1. It is the speed needed to break free from a gravitational field without further propulsion. Exothermic, a process or reaction that releases energy from the system, usually in the form of heat, but also in the form of light, electricity, or sound. Experimental physics. Farad. Falling bodies, objects that are moving towards a body with greater gravitational influence, such as a planet. Faraday. Faraday constant. Fermat's principle. First, an organization founded by inventor Dean Kamen in 1989 in order to develop ways to inspire students in engineering and technology fields. Fission, either a nuclear reaction or a radioactive decay process in which the nucleus of an atom splits into smaller parts, often producing free neutrons and photons, and releasing a relatively very large amount of energy. Fluid. Fluid mechanics. Fluid physics. Fluid statics. Focus. Fraunhofer lines. Frequency modulation. Free fall, any motion of a body where its weight is the only force acting upon it. Freezing point, the temperature at which a liquid changes state from to a solid. Function. Fundamental frequency. Fundamental theorem of calculus. Fusion, a nuclear reaction in which two or more atomic nuclei join together, or fuse, to form a single heavier nucleus. Gamma ray, electromagnetic radiation of high frequency and therefore high energy. Gamma ray burst. General relativity. Geophysics. Gluon. Graham's law of diffusion. Gravitation, a natural phenomenon by which physical bodies attract each other with a force proportional to their masses. Gravitational constant, a physical constant involved in the calculation of gravitational force between two bodies. Gravitational energy, the potential energy associated with the gravitational field. Gravitational field, a model used to explain the influence that a massive body extends into the space around itself, producing a force on another massive body. Thus, a gravitational field is used to explain gravitational phenomena, and is measured in newtons per kilogram. Gravitational potential, the gravitational potential at a location is equal to the work per unit mass that is done by the force of gravity to move an object to a fixed reference location. Gravity, a natural phenomenon by which physical bodies attract each other with a force proportional to their masses. Ground state. Group velocity. H. Hadron. Half-life, the time required for a quantity to fall to half its value as measured at the beginning of the time period. In physics, half-life typically refers to a property of radioactive decay, but may be referred to any quantity which follows an exponential decay. Hamilton's principle. Harmonic mean. Heat, energy transferred from one body to another by thermal interaction. Heat transfer. Helmholtz free energy. Henderson-Hasselbalch equation. Henry's law. Hertz, the SI unit of frequency defined as the number of cycles per second of a periodic phenomenon. Horsepower. Hubble deep field. Huygens-Fresnel principle.